You were talking about when he was shot, and you said it was the next day that was really telling. Let me ask you first before you go into the next day. You were close enough to see when he was down on the ground. I asked him recently, privately, what was going through your head? And he said, honestly, Glenn, this is pathetic. It looks weak. Get up. You're not afraid. Get up. Get up.
Yes.
That was amazing. Has he talked to you about that?
It was the way he explained it was so powerful. So the first thing I think people should know is that he called me first thing in the morning the next day. And before I could even say hello, he said, Selena, are you okay? Is your daughter okay?
Isn't that crazy?
And I kind of swore at the president, and my mom's going to be mad when she reads this part. But I said, are you bleeping kidding me? You're the one that was shot, right? But it was just so stunned that was the first thing he was thinking of. It. So one thing people don't know is before he said fight, 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 I could see him. He says USA twice. He's still on the ground. And then I see him turn and get up and say fight, fight, fight. Wow. And so we talked about that. And I said, why? And like you did. And he said, well, Selena, at that moment, I wasn't Donald Trump. I was symbolic, even though I wasn't president yet, again, I had once been president. And I had an obligation to show that the country is strong, that we will not be defeated, and that we are resolute. I did not want to be the symbol of America being weak.
Jeez. That does not happen. That is not. I mean, you're bringing me to tears. That is not something that happens. That is in you. That is either in you or not in you, and it's in very few people.
Yes, and we talk a lot about faith as well. There are some very gripping emotional moments that he and I have. Not only that next day, but also I saw him probably a dozen times after that at different rallies that I covered. And we had some very emotional conversations. But he believed in that moment, and I think he believes that always. You can tell by his swagger. You can tell by the way he talks. He always believes that you have a responsibility as the president of the United States. You are a symbol of the country and everything that it stands for. You should project strength at all times. And he had it in that moment.
Isn't it weird?
Go ahead.
Isn't it weird? You know, there have been other world leaders that have had assassination attempts, and it makes them egotistical. This assassination attempt actually humbled him and yet strengthened him. It's the most bizarre thing I've seen. You know, he could have easily gone up and said, it was the most beautiful bullet of all time, but my superpowers, you know what I mean? And he doesn't. He was like, God save me. And doesn't use that as that's why you need to go stay at the Trump God golf course that I'm building. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, you're exactly right. And if people are wondering why he is so resolute on everything that he's doing and everything he is doing at such a warp speed, it's because he believes, and he told me this, that God was there. God saved him because he never uses a chart. He never turns away. He asks me several times, I don't know why, out loud, he's like, I don't know why I did that, Selena. I don't know why I did that. The man you see today, and you see what he is projecting, and no matter who is sort of saying, this is terrible, you're going to break the country, blah, 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 whatever it is, he's like, no, I am supposed to do this. I am supposed to save this country. And I don't think you're going to see him, waver. Now, will he change his mind on things?
Yeah.
Sure. He's not dumb.
He's pragmatic.
But yes, he's incredibly pragmatic. There's also by the way, people will find out that Trump in this book, in Butler, that Trump is not the only president to be shot in Butler and almost die. George Washington did.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wait a minute.
No,
wait. He was shot? I didn't think George Washington was ever wounded.
He did. They missed, just like this guy did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's the first chapter. George Washington running through Butler.
I think we need to make sure everybody knows you're running for president. Don't go to Butler. Jeez.
and Butler, the reason why Butler is also so important is that Butler is a symbol of everyday America, right? This is a county and a city that is a great big mix of the suburbs, but also industrial and farmer and ranchers, right? This is if you wanted to see like a melting pot of the country in one county, this is it. And he goes to places like that, and he lets people know that they are seen.
Yeah, I know.
Just like East Palestine. Like that was the moment that changed the trajectory of his election, was showing up in East Palestine in February of 2023. People might not remember he was down in the polls then. This was before, the primary process started, and he was down in the polls. 1 week after he went to East Palestine, he shot out above DeSantis and Haley and never looked back. And that is that magic power that he has, in that he makes places and people in those places feel seen. And so the book will take you also through what nobody saw and heard during the election cycle.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Butler here for a second.
Yeah.
He also said to me the one thing that cemented where he knew, and I think this is part of where he got his swagger back, where he knew the American people were with him. He said, I get back up and I see the crowd is not a jumble of chaos, everybody stampeding toward an exit.
Yeah.
I've never really seen the video of that moment from the crowd perspective. Just you always see the video of him. What was it like in the crowd when that was going on? What was happening to the crowd?
It was like a miracle. People were not freaking out. People were cheering him on as he left. And after he was safely gone, they just quietly exited. And what is really profound, Glenn, is they kept me in the back for a long time. They were trying to make sure I wasn't hit because I never got down. Because sometimes you don't know if you're hit, right?
Right.
And so I go out and walk with my daughter and my son-in-law. We walk to our car, and there's, this is on a big farm, right? And there's all those cars are still there. They hadn't let anybody leave yet. And instead of like people blowing their horn, like this is an hour after it happened, right? Instead of people freaking out, people were outside of their cars. They were hugging each other. They were sharing like waters and food and helping each other, making sure everyone was okay. It was incredibly moving to be there. And I talked to people that were there in the book, and it was absolutely, I get chills even talking about it, because what you saw in that moment was the way that people behave in a crisis situation can go one or two ways.
Yeah.
And many people said to me that they felt the presence of something greater than self in that moment, and they believed they weren't scared. They weren't scared.
Amazing.